Okay, great. Well, my name is Gina Morrison. I have been in some aspect of HR for the last 10 years. I've kind of been a generalist. I've been people and culture. Now I'm focused solely on recruiting because I love it. It's my passion. I love people. I love talking to people all day and finding the right fit. And so I'm currently with a company called MCS, and I'm the recruiting manager here. I've been here since the end of last year, and we are just in super growth mode. So I am recruiting all day. Well, number one is webinars. I love to take any opportunity I can to join a webinar talking about trends, the economy, what we're looking at in the workforce. Bright Talk is a great resource for that. They offer a lot of free webinars. Also, every HR software company in the world reaches out to recruiters and offers free webinars. So I say just take up the opportunity. You might get a couple of sales calls afterwards, but that's okay. It's worth it because they have some really great podcasts, webinars. I do also like podcasts. If you're specifically in tech recruiting, there was a great podcast called Data Driven Recruiting. I don't necessarily recruit for tech anymore, but I still like to listen to it every once in a while because, you learn from other, industries on processes and best practices and stuff like that. So I just say, learn it all. And then, I follow a lot of recruiters on LinkedIn. So, I see what they're doing, how they're communicating, pitching jobs, and, you just learn from everybody. Well, that's a good question. I think we're learning that these processes have to go a lot quicker. Candidates are being taken by the second, and you just have to automate as much as you can. For me personally, I've stopped doing the connection to our website to apply. Some companies can still do that. For us, I'm like, I want to make it as easy as possible. So I am LinkedIn Easy Apply. Just submit your resume. I will do the heavy lifting of sorting through all of the resumes. And Indeed, I think the simpler you can make it for a candidate, the better your chances are of finding a really great one. And then, I think now more than ever, we need to look at recruiting as kind of sales and marketing, getting the brand out there, posting, just making yourself an advocate for the company, a brand ambassador, if you will, and just, getting your name out there as best you can. Be prepared to offer a job on the spot when you're, hiring certain positions, certainly hourly positions and stuff like that. Gone are the days of, I have to talk to this person and that person. We have to speed up all the processes. And so I think that's probably the number one thing I would say that we can do. Well, it kind of goes back to what I was just talking about. First of all, filtering through a wide pool of candidates. If you make it easier for people to apply, you're going to have more candidates. So you're just going to have to work through the pool a little easier. So, and then the hiring quickly, working with your hiring managers to know how essential it is to get back to the candidate in a timely manner, because you are not the only one that they're talking to. Limiting the number of interviews that they have to go through. We used to be able to set somebody up with 4 interviews, large group interviews. It's not so much that anymore. Staying in regular communication with your hiring managers and setting expectations. And staying focused on the candidate experience, regular follow-up, even if you don't have an answer for them at that moment, just checking in with you. Here's where we are in the process. I hope to have, more information for you very soon, but just want to know we're very interested. So that way that you're still keeping that touch point and not losing them. Well, this is a tricky one. I don't know if I would say they're tricks. I would say tips are focus on your job descriptions and your job titles. Job title is so important. I'm always playing around with my job titles because I will post something, and if I'm not getting the right type of candidates, I will change up the title. I'll do a little research on LinkedIn, see what other roles similar to the one that I'm trying to recruit for are titled, and then I might just change it up, so that's important. Job description, being really thorough in what the job is, that so that when somebody's reading it, they have a really good idea going into the conversation. So you're not having to do a lot of, explaining at the onset, and you can have more meaningful conversation. Creating that great sales pitch, like I talked about the employee value proposition. What separates you from the competition? You need to be able to communicate that. Not only can you meet their salary expectations, which is, one of the most important things to, discuss right off the bat. But, what are the benefits? What's your company culture like? Workplace flexibility, growth opportunities. You need to be able to provide all of that to a candidate, especially one that you're really interested in, and give them a good reason why they think they should come work for, your company. Another trick, or tip is asking good questions. So, you don't want to sound like it's just you're going through a checklist of questions. Can you do this? Can you do that? Tell me about the time you did this. You really want it to be a conversation. Show genuine interest in the person you're talking to. Building relationship is a lot more important than just checking the list on, yes, they have all of these skills. You'll get to that in your conversation if you just let it flow. And I think this also just helps you determine whether or not somebody's going to be a good culture fit. Can you carry a conversation with this person? Another great tip is, creating some kind of employee referral bonus, at your company, so that, sometimes the best candidates are referred. And it makes it a whole lot easier for you. I'll say that. So offer your team an opportunity to refer people and get paid to do so. It'll save you a lot of time and effort if you just implement something like that. And then the other thing I would say is I love to look for hidden gems. So don't be so quick to dismiss a candidate based on the job that they applied for. Just take some time to read their resumes and see if they might be a fit somewhere else. I just recently had this experience. Somebody applied for a role and their experience was not a match for this, but I saw that they would be great in another role because they had that experience. And I just reached out to him and I said, hey, I don't think you're a match for this. But would you be interested in this opportunity we have? And, he was very open to it, and, he's in the process now. So I just think, don't be so structured that you miss a great opportunity for a great candidate. I've got to tell you this story. So I had a candidate apply for a position, and this will just tell you about the state of the industry right now. He applied for a position, and I reached out to him, sent him a message, said, thank you for applying. I'd love to speak to you about the role, all this stuff. He came back to me and just his only reply was NTY. No, thank you. He couldn't even spell out no thank you. It was just NTY as the response I got. So, that's what we're dealing with now. And I think we just have to kind of just cut our losses when something like that happens and be quick to move on. We do have to, be a little introspective when that does happen, though. If you are in the process with somebody and then they just ghost you, then you have to really ask why. Was it something about the process that made them uneasy? Did you take too long? Were you not responsive? Those kind of questions. And then, you can always reach out with an apology if it was something like that and just say, hey, I realize I dropped the ball on this. You're a really great candidate. I'd love to speak, but it may or may not work, but at least that's the least you can do. Well, one thing that I love to do is focus on the employees that we have. I mean, we talk about that all the time. The one way to, not be a part of this great resignation is to keep your company or your culture engaging, your employees engaged, constantly assessing, what your engagement level is. And then making sure you're considering internal candidates for promotion before you go outside of that to find somebody externally. Even if it's just moving across business units, a lateral move, giving them the opportunity to learn something new when you have that. And then if you can't provide that opportunity to your internal candidate, still make them feel great about the process so that you're not losing that engagement and, making them think there's no way they'll ever be able to get out of their position, and let them know how valuable they are to the organization, and there will definitely be opportunities for them down the road. So I would say that's number one. Again, back to employer branding. I mean, that's so important now. Every company should be looking at themselves as like a marketing, company. You need to be out there, posting across multiple channels. You've got to be on Facebook and, all the regular ones. But I've seen some creative things on TikTok, which I am super excited about and would love to explore a little further. But just getting out there and making sure that you're giving a great candidate experience so that even though, you might not move forward with that person, they're not leaving nasty reviews on Glassdoor. Well, I think number one is just an interest in learning and growing, continuing to challenge themselves. Do they take pride in what they do? Do they really enjoy what they do? That's a question I ask a lot of the people I talk to is like, what is it you really like to do? I know you're applying for this and this is what this is. Here's what your resume shows you've been doing. Moving from that into this, what is it that you are really interested in? Why does this speak to you? And then hearing their passion about the work they do, and learning and growing. I don't expect people to have every skill set and everything, but are they willing to learn it? And do they like that kind of stuff? And then, just that they're engaged in the conversation, asking questions, elaborating on their answers, showing genuine interest and having a positive attitude. That goes a long way. I feel like I've never been an expert in what I do, but I bring a great attitude every day to work. And I think that has carried me a long way and made up for some of the places that I have lacked. So just having that desire, you're always going to be learning and growing. You're never going to be fully arrived, but just having that desire for that. So, some of the mistakes that we make are not clarifying the role with the hiring manager, really understanding what it is they're looking for and wasting some time filtering through candidates and sending those off to the hiring manager that you might not necessarily should have sent. So making sure you understand all aspects of the role and essential experience requirements. The rest, like I said, if you're willing to learn, great, learn those, but really define the difference between those two. What's necessary? What are you really looking for? And then defining each step of the hiring process. So, setting the expectations, making sure the whole process isn't too lengthy, because your candidate will lose interest. That's just how it is these days. They'll get another offer in the meantime, So, some of the mistakes are just not setting up all the expectations with the hiring manager and the candidates right at the very beginning. I don't love it. I am a cold emailer, so I will reach out to people on LinkedIn a lot. So in that respect, I do some cold calling. But again, your sales pitch is number one. So again, people love to hear about themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to somebody and say, hey, I saw this experience that you have. I think you're a great candidate. This is why you'd be awesome in this role. And then you can pitch your company and say, these are all the great things about working with us. Would you like to have a conversation? So, I mean, I guess that was my number one piece of advice for that. Like I said, I'm not, nobody picks up the phone these days. If you call somebody and they don't recognize your phone number, they're not going to answer. I have texted, so like, for example, we recruit some, field roles, punch list technicians, which is kind of like a handyman role. These guys only communicate through text. So I will reach out through text sometimes, and our whole initial communication will be all through text. But it's just, again, highlighting why you think this would be a great opportunity and what they can bring to the table. Yes, I think we all have them. One of my biggest pet peeves is when, candidate has done zero research on the company. I mean, just visit our website. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to dig deep and know everything about our CEO or whatever, but just know a little bit about what the company does and what this role entails. You can tell sometimes when somebody hasn't even read the job description, because you'll say something like, well, what had you interested in this role? And they're like, oh, well, could you tell me about it? Well, don't do that. Another red flag is just, like I said, positive attitude goes a long way. So on the reverse, a bad attitude will, make me want to cut this call short. If you feel, there's any kind of arrogance, or you talk bad about your prior companies or your prior experiences, that's kind of a red flag to me. It's just a bad attitude thing. So, I just stay positive. If you're interviewing, you may have some bad feelings about that company that you work for, but I would not suggest talking about them in your interviews. And then just like, I'm sure this happens to everyone, but missing your interview. So, we have scheduled calls. I call you, you don't pick up. It's really, really hard for me to get excited about rescheduling an interview if I've called you at the appointed time and you didn't show up. Things pop up, and I get that. So if you call or email me ahead of time, no worries. That shows that you thought about it, But if you just don't answer, that's a